What is up, everybody? Welcome into this Monday episode of Flippin Bats, and we have a jam-packed episode because it was a jam-packed weekend of baseball. It was Jackie Robinson Day. Cody Bellinger came back to Los Angeles as a member of the Cubs. We got Power Rankings, Overreaction Monday, Team of the Week, Player of the Week. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get to it.
It's a blowout. 8th inning, 10-3. Bases are loaded for Verlander, who waits on the 3-0 pitch. He swings, and it's a high fly ball. Deep center field. It is gone. Home run. And a huge bat flip to celebrate. All right, Ben, start the show already.
What is up, my friends? I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. I know I did, and the last we left things here on Flippin' Bats on Friday was when Alex said that she had a wedding to attend that was her own sister's. And Alex, I said to myself, I need to remember to ask you about it on Monday because last I heard, you didn't know what your involvement would be. You might be a flower girl. Who knew? So, Alex, how was your weekend and how was the wedding?
It was wild. I can confirm I was a flower girl for the first time since I was 2 years old, and I nailed it.
Okay.
My sister and I walked down together.
Did you have like a technique? Were you like a tosser? Were you a spreader?
Oh.
What was your technique?
I was an air tosser. It was
Up.
up. It was towards people. I was spreading the love, spreading the joy.
Okay.
It was great. It was a small, like, backyard, very intimate wedding. It was just the two of them, and my other sister actually married them. So it was It was wild. It was beautiful. It's been a lot. We were dancing until I think like almost 2 a.m.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
It looked wild. What day was this?
This was Friday.
So how are you feeling?
I am on the struggle bus, Ben.
Yeah.
I am on. My voice is barely hanging on. We had rehearsal
Yep.
with the family on Thursday, the wedding Friday. We had family brunch, and then Grandma's 93rd birthday Saturday. More beach days Sunday. They're still here on Monday, so I'm going to be seeing them after the show.
Yeah.
It's wild. It
looked wild.
It's so much fun. Curry's have a really good time.
I had definitely a less wild weekend because I was on the golf course and playing a lot of golf. And
Yeah.
so definitely less wild, but still a good week.
That's a beautiful weekend. Taking your dog to the park.
Dog
That
park.
was- yeah.
Dog to the park. Yeah, it was great. It was great. But a lot of good things, as I mentioned, happened in the baseball world. And that's why I say we have a jam-packed show. And the first thing we got to talk about is over the weekend, it was Jackie Robinson Day, which is a great and awesome and important day around the game of baseball when everybody wears number 42. And it just feels a little more special for the Dodgers because obviously the Jackie connection there, and he played for that franchise. And to have everybody on that field wearing number 42, and for the way that game ended with the Los Angeles Dodgers walking off the Cubs, it was so special. And I actually like walk-offs are just a little bit cool. Obviously, walk-off home runs are great. But walk-offs that involve an ending with a close play at the plate are so cool. And that's how it happened for the Dodgers. A hard hit ball to right field, play at the plate, guy dives in, bang, bang, play at the plate. He's safe. Everybody runs on the field. Everybody sprints out there. Everybody wearing the number 42. And it was just really cool. It was really special to see that. And it just felt right. It felt right to see all of that happening on that day. And it's such a special and important day. And I've always loved it I love baseball. It's one of my true loves in my life. And I played baseball professionally. And this day is so important because the locker room, when I played baseball, would have looked different if it wasn't for Jackie Robinson. And what he was able to do for the sport that I love so much can't be understated. It can't. It was so powerful. And as I mentioned, playing professionally, and the locker room would look nothing like, it looks the way it does today because of a guy like Jackie Robinson and what he did. And I'm just so thankful for him. And a lot of my good friends in the locker room, it's just all a lot because of Jackie and what he was able to do. And Jackie Robinson Day, everybody wearing 42. It's an emotional day, and it's a special day for the game of baseball. And it just turned out very poetic with the Dodgers winning the way they did.
It did. I mean, you have to remember, it's never easy to be the first at something. And he broke the color barrier
Yeah.
in the game of baseball. And he did it with such power and respect and grace that he changed the game forever. It is incredible everything he did for baseball, and I love now that every single team wears number 42 on Jackie Robinson Day, because it really is. It's such a special day for each player individually, but then the game of baseball as a whole. And walk-offs are one of the more magical moments of the game.
Yeah.
It's what I miss the most from being a part of the team. And to have it be in that moment and the way it happened, and as you said, all 42s running onto the field, it was beautiful. I'm getting chills just like talking through it, thinking about it again.
It really was. It was a special day, and congrats to the Dodgers for doing it right. It's always a special day for the Dodgers franchise, and then the cool ending made it just that much better. But speaking of the Dodgers as well, Cody Bellinger returned to his former organization as a member of the Cubs. Bellinger made his return this weekend, and it was quite the weekend.
It was everything. Do you remember asking me on Friday, do you think he's going to get cheered? Do you think he's going to get booed? He hit every single emotion from Dodger fans.
Technically, he was booed.
He was.
But it was because of something good that he did for his team.
It was great. I mean, he got the video. He got the standing ovation. He got the standing ovation when he came to the plate for the first time.
Oh, yeah, that caused quite the stir. There was a strike violation called against him, which is ridiculous. But we'll talk more about that later in the week, because that made me shake my head a little bit. So there's a segment that we'll talk all about that. But yeah, I mean, it was really cool. It was an emotional return, as everybody was expecting. And yeah, the standing ovation there, the tribute, every emotion was hit, like you said.
The boos when he robbed a home run.
That was great.
And I love that they were showing the crowd and the Dodger fans, because some were booing and then some were kind of laughing and clapping, because you can tell that they still love the guy. And it's like, shoot, but now you just did this against us, but we still love you.
He's also playing well now.
Yeah.
And then the home run he robbed was against Jason Hayward, who they just basically flip-flopped teams.
Yep.
So Hayward hits that ball to center. Bellinger goes back and robs it. And then the crowd starts booing him. And he literally just, turns around. You can see here if you're watching. He, turns all around. It's like, what, guys? I did this here for years. You knew I could do this.
Yep.
Really cool return. Special return for him, I'm sure. Hit a homer in the series. Played well. So the return went about as I think I expected. And a big ovation, a tribute to him.
Yeah.
And he had to hit a home run. It just made everything even more
It was
right.
beautiful. I loved it.
More stuff in the baseball world happened over the weekend, though, but not necessarily just Major League Baseball, but two aces that everybody will now know the name faced off in the NPB. Roki Sasaki against Yoshinobu Yamamoto faced off. And this matchup was a big deal because these are the two biggest pitchers over there, but you have one in Yamamoto who's a legend and has been doing it for a while. And then Roki Sasaki, who we saw both of these names at the World Baseball Classic, but Roki Sasaki, the new phenom in the sport, and everybody's just waiting for his arrival here in Major League Baseball. And this was the biggest pitching matchup in NPB history. You don't really ever have these storylines match up the way that they did. And it ended with Roki Sasaki, the young phenom, being the guy that got the better of Yamamoto. Get this, 7 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 runs, 11 strikeouts for Roki Sasaki. Out there throwing 102 miles an hour. We had Rowdy Tellez on the podcast last week who talked about facing Roki Sasaki and said he's throwing 102, but it's moving all over the place. He was throwing splitters at 92, sliders at 90, fastballs at 102, and punched out 11 in 7 innings. So he's 2-0 this year as a starter with 22 strikeouts and just 2 hits given up in 13 innings pitched. Roki Sasaki is going to be a phenom here when he comes to the United States, whenever that might be. It's going to be a couple of years. But Rowdy Tellez said this, and I thought this was interesting because I asked what it was like facing him. And he said that guy would be an ace of a staff right now for at least 25 teams in Major League Baseball. That's how good he is. A great matchup, and the young guy got the best of Yamamoto.
This is another real, we've talked about this a lot, another tip of your hat and another way that Shohei Ohtani is changing the game of baseball. Because now we know these names, we care about these players, and it's almost like how you're invested in a minor league player waiting for them to make it to the big leagues. They're just on the other side of the world being just as competitive as Major League Baseball is. It is so exciting to see eventually where he's going to end up.
Yeah,
It's going to be great.
We're still a couple years away from it, but I can't wait. And I do feel like baseball now the world cares about the MPB, and I think everybody has realized the MPB is the real deal in baseball. And man, do they love them some baseball over there, and the talent is awesome. And if you ever have a chance to go to Japan and watch baseball there, it is a must. And if you can do it soon, you should go watch Roki pitch while he's still over there. So had to talk about that. Just a good weekend of baseball. A great weekend of baseball. But it's Monday, Ben. So you know what time it is? It's time for you to overreact. No, these aren't me. You remember, it's not me, okay? But yeah, you can say I'm overreacting. Overreaction Monday, where Alex is going to give me some statements that I'm either going to say are an overreaction or not an overreaction. So let's see what you got this week, Curry. Our first overreaction. This is the best Braves team of the last decade. I'm going to say that's not an overreaction. Ooh. And I'll do you one better. Okay. I will say that this is the best Braves team since the early 2000s, Atlanta Braves. That's how much I believe in this team. Look, Acuna's back. Mm-hmm. He's a superstar. He's the superstar we all expected him to be before his injury. Spencer Strider has elite stuff, Cy Young stuff. He's on this team. Pair him with Max Fried at the top of the rotation. And then some other names. I mean, what if Mike Soroka comes back? Michael Soroka comes back and becomes the player he was beforehand. Kyle Wright. You have Austin Riley, the young guy that has signed the biggest free agent deal in Braves history. You have Matt Olson over at first base now. A healthy Ozzie Albies has been great at second base. Sean Murphy behind the plate, the big acquisition there. The best start this year for the Atlanta Braves are 12-4. The best start since they were 13-3 in 2013. This team has it all. They have a really good bullpen that's only going to get better when Raisel Iglesias comes back. So I don't think it's an overreaction at all to say this is the best Braves team in the last decade. And I'll do you one better and say this is the best Braves team since the early 2000s. And yes, it's better than the Braves team that won the World Series in 2021 against the Astros. I think it's better than all of them. This team is unbelievable. They have all of the makings of a World Series team. I'm very high on this team, and that's why I had them winning the National League. So no, best Braves team of the last decade is not at all an overreaction. Hot take. Yeah. Did you have them winning the World Series this year? No, I had Astros over the Braves in the World Series. One of those teams is playing a lot better than the other right now, is in the Atlanta Braves. But, the Astros have done this in the past where they start off slow, and nobody should worry about the Astros. But I was high on them, and I have them winning the National League, and for good reason. And the start that they're having is the best start since 2013. Yep. Man, they're good. They're great. Yep. All right, we're moving to our next overreaction. Ben, the Phillies are cooked. The Phillies are cooked. Let me think about this. I'm going to say that this is an overreaction. Okay. The Phillies, again, I'm a big, let's not press the panic button too early. Now, there have been reasons this year to perhaps push it, but let's be honest. It's still early. They've come off of a decent series against the Reds where we finally saw that offense show up. Now, the Reds can pitch. We finally saw the Phillies offense show up. That's what will win them games. Am I confident that this team makes the playoffs still? No. No, I'm not. But to say they're cooked less than 20 games into the year seems unfair. They got off to a slow start last year. They've gotten off to slow starts before and been just fine. So, am I worried? Yes, I am. But are they cooked? No, they're not. That's an overreaction.
Yeah, I mean, they did a big win on Sunday. They put up 9 runs in the first inning. As you mentioned, offense is what's gonna win them games. And they're getting their MVP Bryce Harper back in maybe a couple of months.
I mean, he's even said he's apparently ahead of schedule and wants to get back before everybody says so. But guess what? The doctors are the ones that make that final decision, and we will see. But yeah, they're gonna get healthier.
Yeah.
The top 2 guys of the rotation are very good, and Nola and Wheeler. But they've struggled beyond that. Depth in the rotation, bullpen, but they're going to get Ranger Suarez back, hopefully, and he will continue to be good. I do big time worry about that bullpen. Big worries there.
Yeah.
So are they cooked? No. Am I worried? Yeah, I would say I'm a little worried about the Phillies.
Okay. Ready for a third overreaction?
Yep.
Okay. The Red Sox will finish last in the AL East.
That's not an overreaction. Well, let's go through it.
Okay.
Right? Are they better than the Yankees? No. Are they better than the Blue Jays? No. Are they better than the Rays? No. Are they better than the Baltimore Orioles? I would say no. And the Orioles were better than the Red Sox last year. They announced themselves with authority on the map. Are the Red Sox better than the Orioles this year? I say no. So I think the Red Sox can compete, and I think the Red Sox can beat anybody. But are they going to do it over the course of a year and be better than everybody in the AL East? I don't think so. I think they again finished in last. And the injury to Adam Duvall was huge for them. And let's backtrack a month ago. And imagine me sitting here 2 weeks into the year, 3 weeks into the year, and saying, man, that Adam Duvall injury is going to be the one that's a backbreaker. But what Adam Duvall was doing for this team, the team on paper wasn't even close to the best team in this division. They needed somebody to step up and have an MVP caliber year that you didn't expect it. That's what you needed, and you were getting it from Adam Duvall. And then he gets hurt and goes down, and then it's just a huge blow to this team. The pitching is not great. They finally have themselves a closer. Kenley Jansen's good, but you got to get it. You got to get it there. I think the Red Sox have the potential of a team that finishes around 500 or maybe slightly above. But I really like the Orioles, and of course the other teams in the division are very good. So I will say that's not an overreaction. Red Sox are going to finish last in the AL East.
And they're at an even 500 right now, and they're at the bottom.
Exactly.
Of the standing. So
that's
it's like that's where you're at. That's what this division is.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to our next overreaction. Luis Arraez will win back-to-back batting titles.
Woo! That's a bold one.
Yeah.
And I say that's bold because there's only been 2 players that have won a batting title in both leagues in history. DJ LeMahieu is the only one that's done it in the modern era. DJ LeMahieu won it in 2020 with the Yankees and in 2016 with the Rockies. And it's the only modern one because the only other player in history that has won a batting title in both leagues is a guy named Pete Browning, who did it in 1882 and 1885 for the Louisville Eclipse of the American Association. And in 1890, he did it in the Players League with a team named the Cleveland Infants. Yep, the Infants.
What?
Yep, you heard me right. The Cleveland Infants in 1890. So those were 2 different leagues, the American Association and the Players League. So he's the only other one that's done it. And I am going to say, Alex, that this is not an overreaction. I think Luis Arraez is the first ever player to win a batting title in back-to-back years. And I think he's the first ever player, of course, to win a batting title in back-to-back years in 2 different leagues. The guy's hitting over 500 this year. And if you ever watch Luis Arraez, he is the definition of a hitter. The guy's not going to hit 30 homers. He might not even hit 20 homers. But I'm not going to count him out for hitting 500 on the year. That's how good he is. I mean, that's a little ridiculous. But look, if there's somebody in the league right now that you says has a chance to hit over 400 for the first time since, Ted Williams. Is that what it is? First time since Ted Williams. The answer is going to be Luis Ariz. That's how good he is. And I think that is not an overreaction to say that he will win back-to-back batting titles.
And it would be the first time that would happen back-to-back, but in 2 different leagues.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And I think he has every bit of a chance to do that. First time it'll happen back-to-back in 2 different leagues, and first time it would happen back-to-back.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I
think he can do it.
Okay. Moving on to our next overreaction. You ready?
Yep.
Brett Baty can still win NL Rookie of the Year.
I don't think that's an overreaction.
Okay.
Do I think it happens? No, because of Corbin Carroll, my NL Rookie of the Year pick, driver of that bandwagon. But I don't think it's an overreaction to say that Brett Baty can win. Still plenty of time in the year. We are less than 20 games into the year, meaning if all goes well and he stays healthy, he could win he could play in over 140 games still. Certainly the possibility of winning the Rookie of the Year is there. He was dominant in AAA this year. He should have made the team out of spring training. Absolutely should have happened. But he didn't. So he played in AAA, got 42 plate appearances, hit 400 in those 42 plate appearances with an OPS of right around 1,400. 5 homers in 9 games. He was great. He should have made the opening day team. He should have made the opening day roster and been the opening day starting third baseman, but that did not happen. Eduardo Escobar ended up being the one that made the team and ended up playing third base. But now that's not going to happen anymore, at least on a normal basis. And Eduardo Escobar was asked about this the other day. Before Brett Baty was even called up, he was asked about Brett Baty, and he said he deserves everything he's getting right now. Now that he's getting called up, he's put in the work. He deserves to come up here and play and do what he does because he's that good of a player. He's the future of this team. So that was a quote he had when Brett Baty was getting called up. He even, prior to that, had something to say about him. He basically was like, I know he's coming, and I know he's going to play third base, and he deserves it. And to hear him say this, it's a tough position for Eduardo Escobar to be in. You know, he's losing his job, and you know it's happening. The writing is on the wall. You have the future of the third base position coming up and taking your spot. But for him to be this gracious, Eduardo Escobar is one of the better human beings in the league. And, of course, he handles it this way. But Brett Baty is coming, and I wholeheartedly believe that he can still win NL Rookie of the Year. And I would go out on a limb here and say that I think Brett Baty does finish top 3 in the NL Rookie of the Year voting.
Ooh. And do you remember when he made his MLB debut in 2022? His first at-bat?
No.
Home run.
Okay, I remember the debut, but I didn't remember exactly what happened.
First at bat.
But he did end up struggling, right?
Yeah.
He did end up struggling in his limited time in the big leagues. But this guy's better than AAA. This guy is ready for the big leagues, and I think he's going to be a huge piece. Steve Cohen talked about it when he seemingly signed Carlos Correa. That we needed another bat, and this is it. That didn't end up happening. And to start the year, I think it's pretty fair to say the Mets have needed another bat. And this guy could be it. He could be the bat for the Mets that they needed all along. And I'm happy they're doing it. I think they did it too. I think they didn't do it soon enough, but better late than never. I'm glad they're doing it.
Now, you mentioned you think by the end of the year, Baty will be in the top 3 Rookie of the Year conversation.
Yep, I do.
But every week, we're doing top 3 rookies of the week. So let's get in to your number 3 rookie, your guy, your favorite rookie right now.
That's right.
Driver of the Corbin Carroll bandwagon.
Keep it going. Keep building it up.
Yes.
Driver of the Corbin Carroll bandwagon. Number 3 on my list this week is Corbin Carroll himself because, he was great. 333, 2 home runs, 5 RBI, and one of those home runs came on Sunday against Sandy Alcantara to dead center field. Now, I told everyone that this guy has every tool. He will be the fastest guy in Major League Baseball this year, and if not the fastest, he will be top 3 in sprint speed. He's insanely fast. He can hit for a high average. He can play a good defense. But I said the power is the sneaky part. And pop to dead center against the reigning NL Cy Young winner, that's big boy pop. He's got it. Another good week. He's heating up. He's number 3 on this list.
And did I hear a little rumor that he might be joining the show
You
this week?
did. You did hear a little rumor about that. As the driver of the bandwagon, it's only fitting that the guy comes on. He will be Wednesday's episode of Flippin Bats, which I am pumped about. I'm pumped to have him on. I'm pumped for everybody to learn a little bit more about his story and how he's here at such a young age and how he got here. And it's going to be a blast of a conversation. So yes, this week's Wednesday guest episode will be with the man himself, Corbin Carroll.
I can't wait for that. Okay, moving on to number 2, Spencer Steer.
Yeah, the Cincinnati Reds infielder Spencer Steer had another good week. He's been good to start the year. 400 on the week, 2 doubles, 4 RBIs. Some would say he's steering his team in the right direction.
Okay.
You love it. Spencer Steer, he had a big game-tying hit in the 9th the other day for the Reds. They're playing pretty good baseball, and he's been a big part of it. So Spencer Steer, with his week of batting 400, he comes in at 2nd on this week's list of top rookies of the week.
And number 1. Hunter Brown.
Hunter Brown of the Houston Astros. Listen to this week. So he got 2 starts. He went 2-0, 14 innings pitched, 12 strikeouts, 0 earned runs, and 7 hits. 0 earned runs and 2 starts against 2 good offenses, might I add. Look, I've talked a good bit about Hunter Brown, and I mentioned at the beginning of the year when we did our division previews that Hunter Brown would be the breakout player for the Astros this year. He came up last year, was good in limited time, and had an outing in the playoffs where he was really good. But Hunter Brown is the future of this Astros rotation. And I say this every time because I think it's important. Hunter Brown's icon growing up was Justin. And you can see it when he pitches. His windup, his motion, his stuff. If you watch him, he looks a lot like Justin out on the mound. And for him to be so young and already doing this stuff in the big leagues against really good opponents, man, what a week. What a future this guy's going to have. I love Hunter Brown, and a great week. The best week of all the rookies, according to this here list. 2-0, 14 innings, 12 strikeouts, and 0 earned runs.
I love this. And I think I say this, I've said this every week, but the future of baseball is in such good hands. Like, exciting.
The names that aren't on this, I mean.
I know.
Yeah. Baseball's in good hands. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I love baseball. I love these rookies. We're in good shape.
We know.
Yeah.
You rank the rookies. Now it's time for your power rankings.
It's Monday.
Ben.
You know what that means.
It's what it is.
It's time for a new, updated power rankings. We got more movement. Last week was the biggest movement in the history of my power rankings. This week, still a lot of movement, but a little bit different. And different at the top, might I add.
I mean, you have 2 teams for the first time that are not in your top 10.
The first time
in
the history of my power rankings that there's 2 teams that are not in it together. So let's get into it.
Let's get started. Number 10, the Cubs have not been ranked before. First time.
First time the Cubs have made an appearance in these power rankings, and deservedly. 8-6 on the year. Won a big series on the road against the Dodgers in LA. Look, the Cubbies are fun. They're exciting. They got a big bat back over the weekend, Seiya Suzuki, and he hit a homer on the weekend. A very new look team. So look, to start this year, I really liked the Cubs and what they did. And I believed the Cubs had the best offseason of everybody. I really did. Now, did that mean that they were going to be a dominant team this year? I didn't think so. Did I think it could mean they made the playoffs? I think it meant they could make some noise. Did I expect them to be in the top 10 of my power rankings 3rd week in the year? I didn't. And they're playing great baseball. Dansby up the middle. Trey Mancini, still room for... Look, they're doing well without Trey Mancini even really being hot yet. Cody Bellinger has been really good. Bunch of good names for the first time this year, and maybe the first time in the history of my power rankings.
Ooh.
I imagine so. The Cubs are ranked number 10.
Number 9. Very similar. Also, first time that this team is in your power rankings. The Texas Rangers, who just also had a big series this last weekend against Houston.
Rangers here at 9-6, won a series on the road against the Astros, and this is their first time being ranked. And again, the first time ever being ranked in my power rankings, and they're getting it done from all over the place. Offensively, Marcus Semien. We saw Marcus Semien hit a grand slam on Sunday against the Astros. Adolis Garcia doing big things. Jacob deGrom in that rotation. Their big prized acquisition to start the year was deGrom in that rotation. Andrew Heaney has been really good for them. Nathan Eovaldi, a completely revamped starting rotation. A really good offense to start the year. Corey Seager is out right now. That has been a tough blow for them, and they still beat the Astros in that series. I really like what I'm seeing from the Texas Rangers, and it was time to put them in the power rankings.
Do you remember my tale of the tape? Me mentioning Andrew Heaney and saying he was going to be a big part of this weekend, and you went, if that's who you're betting on, you better watch out. That's who I bet on, and that's what happened.
To be fair, I think we decided that we're going to do a tale of the tape every week, and we'll just keep track of, we'll make a prediction of who's going to win the series. And you were right, and Andrew Heaney did play a big part of it. I think what I said is if the reason you're picking the Rangers over the Astros is because of Andrew Heaney, then it was more of a joke. But it ended up he was the reason.
I know.
He was the reason they won the series with that dominant performance head-to-head on Sunday against Framber Valdez. Rangers look good, and they're here at number 9. Can
you tell I like winning? Okay, moving on to number 8. The Padres down 6 this week, but they're getting a big boost later in the week.
Down 6 spots. Yes, they were number 2 last week after a big series on the road against the Braves. I got to knock them down. Mm-hmm. You know why? They're below 500. Oof. They're 8-9. They just lost a 4-game series to the Brewers. They lost 3 of 4 at home, a big series. I would have loved to see them win that series. Not that, don't take that the wrong way. If you're a Padres fan, you would have loved to see them win that series, beating the Braves, right? One of the favorites in the National League, beating them on the road, then going home and gaining some of that momentum and showing we are an elite team. Look, they're below 500. They did not win that series. They got beaten pretty handily by the Brewers in that series. Had to knock them down. They're here at number 8.
And as I mentioned, they're getting a big boost this week. Fernando Tatis Jr. Supposedly coming back Thursday. So.
And he can't come back soon enough. What he's been doing in the minor leagues is just insane. I mean, he's been tearing the cover off the ball. We'll talk more about that in tomorrow's episode. But yeah, Tatis coming back. They'll get a boost.
They'll get a boost.
They need a boost right now.
They need a boost.
So they're here at number 8, down 6 spots. So they are there are 2 teams, as we mentioned, that aren't here, but they're the biggest mover within the top 10.
Yes. All right, speaking of boosts, at number 7, the Mets, up 3.
Up 3, good week for them. They're 10-6 now. They beat the A's on the road in a series that they absolutely should win, so they're not getting a huge boost because of that. They just played really good, and now they're 10-6, and I actually talked about this last week. I said, look, Mets fans are, now that I'm very much so focused on the Mets, and obviously with Justin being on the team, I watch them more so. What I've learned is there's a portion of the Mets fan base that is very much so, oh no, the sky is falling, the season's over, throw in the towel. And I said, pump the brakes there. This team will be just fine. And they're playing good baseball. They're up 3 spots.
Way to go, Mets.
Way to go, Mets.
Way to go, Mets. Okay, number 6, the Twins, just down 1.
Twins are down 1. They're 10-6. I had to knock them down because they lost a series to the Yankees. Now, a little bit of a spoiler, but they were ahead of the Yankees, and now they are behind the Yankees. But the Twins are very good. They're 10-6. They were very competitive in that series on the road. If you remember, they put up, 9 runs in the first inning against the Yankees. How many was it? I think it was 9. Did we have 2 games over the weekend where a team scored 9 runs in the first inning? I really think it was 9.
Oh, yeah, because the Phillies
Either way,
did.
Massive inning in the first, and I think it was the first game of that series. But they end up losing that series to the Yankees. I really like this Twins team and the way they're built. Really good pitching, dominant offense that can explode for a lot of runs in an inning. Mm-hmm. But they lose that series, had to bump them down to number 6.
All right, time for your top 5. And rounding it out, bottom, number 5, the Blue Jays, who are up 2.
Blue Jays are up 2. They're now in the top 5. Big believer in this team. As you know, I picked the Toronto Blue Jays to win the AL East. I'm a believer in the team, and a huge weekend series against the undefeated Tampa Bay Rays unfolded, and the Blue Jays beat them in that series. Took 2 of 3, looked really good. And look, anytime you take a series against the team that's ahead of you in the division, it meant even more now that the Rays were undefeated on top of the world. That series was at home for the Blue Jays. They take them down. They looked really good. So I bumped the Blue Jays up. They're in the top 5. They're at number 5 this week.
I love it. And we said this was going to be Tampa Bay's biggest challenge yet.
Yep.
And Blue Jays stepped up to the plate.
They
All
did.
right. Moving to number 4. The Yankees also bumping up 2.
Similar sort of thing. You know, they played a really good team in the Minnesota Twins at home, and they won. And they looked good doing it. Garrett Cole, complete game shutout on Sunday. His first complete game shutout since July of 2021. Really good stuff. I like what I see from the Yankees. Volpe looks to be turning a corner. He was my one down last week, but I said, listen here, everyone. Be patient with Anthony Volpe. And we saw him have a good week. He stole 3 bases in a game. Yankees are up 2 spots and at number 4.
Number 3, the Brewers, also bumping up 1.
You know, I feel like last week I was kind of ahead of the curve with people that do power rank, like MLB, MLB.com. There's some big outlets that come out with their power rankings, and I feel like I was a little ahead of the curve putting the Brewers where I did last week, which was number 4. And then they have this huge weekend series against the San Diego Padres, and they win 3 of 4 games on the road. So I bumped them up again. I have the Brewers as the 3rd best team right now in the league. And I must add this. Last week's guest, Rowdy Tellez. Rowdy Tellez this week hit 4 homers on the week. The Flippin Bats pod luck is the real deal, might I add. And I'm not going to say, like, you're welcome, Brewers, for being number 3, but you can say, hey, Rowdy, thank you for being number 3. And Rowdy can then in turn say, well, I went on Flippin Bats, and that's where the good luck came from. The Brewers are 11-5, and here at number 3.
Number 2, knocking down the Tampa Bay Rays 1 spot after breaking their undefeated streak.
I did. I bumped the Rays were number 1 last week, and I bumped them down. The undefeated streak is no longer. They are 14-2. Losing that series to the Toronto Blue Jays. Look, there was a lot of the baseball world that was saying, okay, yeah, the Rays are really good, but who have they beaten, right? Which is a conversation, but not one that I wanted to partake in, right? I don't care who you're beating. If you're winning 13 games in a row, I don't care who it's against. It's very impressive. But this is by far the toughest matchup they had to face this weekend in the Toronto Blue Jays. They lost that matchup, but they did win one of those games in dominant fashion. I do believe the Rays are a very, very good team. That's why I have them here at number 2. And the reason that they are number 2 will be even better explained in just a second. But yes, I knocked them down that 1 spot. And I do imagine there's a world in which a lot of people keep them at number 1 this week, but not I. I knocked them down 1, meaning we have a new number 1.
And at number 1, you got the Braves.
Braves up 2. What a week they had. The Braves are now 12-4. They've been dominating everybody they've faced. This is their fastest start since 2013 when the team started 13-3. They're 12-4 right now. Matt Olson is on fire. Ronald Acuna Jr. is one of the hotter players in the game of baseball. Ozzie Albies back to playing really good. Look, Acuna is healthy right now. And when Ronald Acuna is healthy, he's proving to everybody all over again. He's a 40-40 caliber guy. He's an MVP talent level player, and he's playing like that right now. I love this Atlanta Braves team. I really do. As I mentioned earlier in this episode, not only do I think this Braves team is the best Braves team we've seen in the last decade, including the 2021 World Series team, I think this is the best Atlanta Braves team we have seen since the early 2000s Atlanta Braves. I have them here at number 1. They're playing like the best team in baseball right now, and for that reason, I bumped them up to the number 1 spot in this week's Power Rankings.
I dig it. You show off the shirt?
Big week. Oh yeah, and I got my Braves.
Yeah.
I'm a big Ron Washington fan. I gotta set that up. Big Ron Washington fan. It's just like he's their third base coach.
Yeah.
So send him Wash is like the, send him at third base. So had to show some love to the Braves and to Ron Washington this week.
I dig.
But now it's time.
Yep.
From Power Rankings. This is every Monday. Mondays are packed with stuff. Now it's time, Alex, for Team of the Week, where I go around the field, position by position, and pick the best player from each spot from the week that was.
All right. Let's get started behind the plate. Your catcher of the week, Adley Rutschman.
Boy, do I love me some Adley Rutschman. He has come up and just been a godsend since the day he came up for the Orioles. And he continued that stretch this week. 400, 3 homers, 8 RBI, a walk-off home run for Adley. He is quickly becoming one of, if not the best catcher in the game of baseball. Love Adley. Great week. He's here behind the plate for me.
All right, heading up to first base, friend of the pod, Rowdy Tellez.
Isn't this great? Comes on the podcast and ends up on my Team of the Week. The Flippin Bats pod luck is the real deal. He was struggling to start the year. We talked about that on Wednesday. If you haven't listened to Rowdy Tellez's episode, go back and give it a listen, because he talked all about his hitting and his mindset at the plate and his struggles to start the year and how he was going to turn it around. And he did. The day I talked to Rowdy Tellez, the day I talked to him, he hits a homer. And then he ends up hitting 4 on the week, batting .320. Was a big part of that big series for the Brewers, beating the Padres on the road. Rowdy Tellez is my first baseman.
Moving over to second base, Brandon Lowe.
Brandon Lowe is having himself, to start the year, an MVP caliber year. And he was on the team that was undefeated for 13 games, 13-0 start to the year, and he had a great week. 409 on the week. A couple of big flies, a couple of grand slams on the year. Brandon Lowe, second baseman. He's been the best. I think he's been the best second baseman to start the year. 4 homers, 9 RBIs for Brandon Lowe, and that will pretty much get you on the Team of the Week anytime.
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
Moving over to third base, the giant killer, Max Muncy.
The giant killer, Max Muncy, 389, 5 homers, 12 RBIs, and an OPS over 1,700. Grand slam on the week, driving balls into the bay out there in McCovey Cove with the Giants, against the Giants. Max Muncy was great. Fantastic week, and he's my third baseman.
Moving over to shortstop, Bo Bichette.
What a week from Bo. I mean, this is 346, a homer, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs. Bo Bichette is becoming, I really feel like Bo Bichette is one of the more underrated players in the game of baseball. And it's because he's not going to put up the power numbers that you'll see from Vladdy there in Toronto. But he can hit for power, he hits for a high average, and he was certainly the hottest shortstop this week. So Bo Bichette, congratulations. You're the shortstop on the Flippin Bats Team of the Week.
Now we move to the outfield, and these are just 3 outfielders.
Yep.
That you like.
3 outfielders, regardless of their
position-based.
position. I don't care if they don't play left field or don't play right field or center field. It doesn't matter. Just 3 outfielders, regardless of position. And my first one is Jared Kelenic of the Seattle Mariners, and this makes me so happy to be able to say, because we've been waiting for the Jared Kelenic breakout, and it didn't come a couple of years ago. It didn't come last year. But if you remember again, AL West preview, my Mariners breakout player was Jared Kelenic this year, because I watched him a lot in spring training. In a totally revamped swing, it's calmer, it's smoother, and he has tons of pop. We all know that. He hit a ball over 480 feet the other day in Wrigley, and he's continued that on. He hit a homer in 4 straight, 409, 4 homers, 6 RBI, 7 runs scored, 4 games in a row with a home run. Jared Kelenic, my friends, has arrived. And for the first time, he's on my team of the week.
Oof. All right. Your second outfielder, a big reason that you put the Braves at number 1 in your power rankings this week, Ronald Acuna Jr.
Absolutely a huge reason for that. The Braves were good last year, but they didn't have Ronald Acuna like we knew Ronald Acuna can be because he was still dealing with that injury. Now he's back and he hit 500 on the week. He had 12 hits on the week. 12 hits is a good month.
Mm-hmm.
Good month. 7 RBI. Just a really good. I'm so happy that Ronald Acuna is back and healthy and playing good baseball. This is the Ronald Acuna that the game of baseball needs. And batting 500 on a week, pretty good start for getting on the team of the week. So he's my second outfielder this week.
Your final outfielder, Hunter Renfroe.
Hunter Renfroe has heated up for the Angels. And he's slow, I guess. I don't want to say slow start because this is still like the start to the year. But a slow first week of the year. And then he really flipped that switch. Hit like 3 homers in a very short span to get going. And then this week, 409 batting average, 2 homers, 7 RBIs, has continued his hot stretch. Man, this is the piece that the Angels needed in that lineup. This is the depth they needed. And you look at the depth that they needed, and you got guys like Hunter Renfroe and Gio Urshela. And this isn't your same old Angels lineup. They can do some damage, and Hunter Renfroe is a big part of that. He is my final outfielder. So in the outfield, that's Jared Kelenic, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Hunter Renfroe.
He also has my catch of the year.
Yes.
Renfroe. Yeah.
Yep.
Big fan. Okay. Let's move to your DH, Brent Rooker.
Brent Rooker is my designated hitter, and many of you out there will not know this name, and self-admittedly, I didn't know a ton about Brent Rooker before I realized the week he was having. He hit 400 this week with 4 home runs and 11 RBIs. Brent Rooker of the Oakland Athletics has been on a tear. Continued that hot stretch on Sunday, might I add, which leads to an important point. This team of the week spans from Sunday to Saturday. Sunday to Saturday. So this most recent Sunday does not count for their team of the week stats. That would count for their next week. But Brent Rooker, not a rookie. He has had big league time. He has not been very good in his past big league time. But so far to start this year, and certainly this week, shout out Brent Rooker, which is why originally the idea came about for Team of the Week, because a lot of people do Teams of the Month, and of course there's a Team of the Year. And you know what? There's not going to be people on that list like Brent Rooker. Perhaps. Maybe we are talking about him at the end of the month. I hope so. But this gives me an opportunity to talk about players that I normally wouldn't be talking about, and Brent Rooker is one of those. What a great week he had. Shout out, Brent. 4 homers and 11 RBIs. Great, great, great week.
Making our way to the mound, he was your number 1 rookie of the week, Hunter Brown.
Exactly. Number 1 rookie on the week, and he is the best pitcher in the game of baseball on the week. Why? Well, because he went 2-0 on the week with 14 innings pitched, 12 strikeouts, 0 earned runs, and 7 hits. What a week. And again, I feel like this is important to add. I do know Garrett Cole threw a complete game shutout on Sunday, right? But that does not count for this week. That will count for next week's. Hunter Brown is the one that ended up with 2 starts on the week, 14 innings, 12 strikeouts, not a single earned run given up. This guy is having quite a year, and will be in contention for that AL Rookie of the Year award when all is said and done. He will. What a week.
I love that. All right, now we're closing it out with the closer, Kenley Jansen.
Yep, Kenley Jansen, great guy back in the bullpen. Like I said earlier, the Red Sox have their closer. It's just about getting it to their closer with a lead, but they did a pretty good job of that this week, especially in a weekend series against the Angels. He ended up with 3 innings pitched and 3 saves, 5 strikeouts in that time with only 3 hits giving up in those 3 innings. Kenley Jansen, still doing it well. He's my closer, and he rounds out this week's team of the week, which means, Alex,
it's
that
time
leaves
for
only one thing.
The player of the week. Who you got?
The Flippin Bats Pod player of the week is Hunter Brown, the rookie for the Astros, with that dominant week. 14 innings, not a single earned run given up, 12 strikeouts, which means a 0.00 ERA for the man himself, Hunter Brown. And I'll say this again because I think it's a really cool part of this and really worth mentioning. Hunter Brown's idol growing up was my brother. And last year when Hunter Brown made his debut, it was on the same team of his icon growing up, which was Justin. And the similarities are uncanny on the mound. His windup looks identical. His stuff honestly looks the same as well. So it's clear Hunter Brown, growing up, who idolized Justin, wanted to be him, studied him, right? And looks a lot like him on the mound. And this week, certainly he looked like him as well. So Justin, this is a stat from Michael Schwab who tweeted this. Justin Verlander threw his first 3 starts of 2022, 19 innings pitched, a 1.89 ERA, 20 strikeouts, 1 win, and 10 hits. Very good. Hunter Brown threw his first 3 starts of 2023, 18 2/3, a 1.93 ERA, 17 strikeouts, 2 wins, and 13 hits. Almost identical start to a guy that idolizes Justin, and I think it's really cool. Shout out Hunter Brown for being on the team of the week and being the Flippin Bats Pod player of the week. Congrats to all of them.
To all of them.
And congrats to us, Alex, for finishing another episode of Flippin Bats. And
That was
congrats to your sister for getting married and to you for being
you.
a great flower girl with great form.
Thanks.
And thank you all for listening to this Monday episode of Flippin Bats. We got a jam-packed week coming at you. Of course, Tuesday's episode going to look a little bit different this week. In Ohtani news will not be in the main big episode. It will be a bonus pod, meaning 2 episodes coming out on Tuesday, Corbin Carroll on Wednesday, and then, of course, Thursday, Friday episodes as well. Thank you all for listening. This one has been a blast. We had a lot to talk about because it was a jam-packed weekend. Make sure you're subscribed to Flippin Bats so you don't miss anything. Wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever. Subscribe, hit that plus button. We're also on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and you can watch every episode as well on YouTube at Flippin Bats Pod for all of them. Well, for this Monday episode, that does it. And until next time, this has been another episode of Flippin Bats. Peace.